Hi, my name is Daniel Hopsicker. Welcome to Mohamed Atta and the Venice Flying Circus. I'm standing in front of the Venice, Florida airport. There is a massive conspiracy going on right now in Florida to cover up what happened on these runways before September 11th. We're being lied to about the nature of the conspiracy that took down the World Trade Center. Lied to by the FBI, lied to by our president, lied to even by our media. For example, PBS's Frontline documentary on September 11th began with this line: 19 hijackers moved through Europe and America unnoticed. In a pig's eye, they did. In the lobby of the Central Intelligence Agency's headquarters in McLean, Virginia, there is this inscription: "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free." This is a story about legends. Your legend is your cover story in intelligence parlance, the lie that holds together long enough to let you slip away. The legends of Rudy Deckers as flight school owner and Mohamed Atta as fanatic Islamic fundamentalist have been fraying at the edges since the collapse of the World Trade Center. But what you'll see tonight will leave you asking the same question we are. Who are these guys? Tonight you'll hear the voices of some important eyewitnesses to the September 11th attack. Eyewitnesses not to the World Trade Center disaster, but to the prelude to the tragedy, to the conspiracy in progress in Florida, which 2 years ago resulted in a massive influx of Arab pilot trainees.
Many times I went to lunch with these folks, and some of them could hardly speak English. Some of them are from Liberia or Libya, and I guess various countries in the Middle East.
But you've been a pilot in this area for 15 years.
Yeah.
Has that always been the case?
No, this a recent influx of these type of trainees.
You'll also discover that Atta and his buddies acted a lot like characters right out of Miami Vice.
They were loud, you know, making comments at the hand on the table, this kind of thing. We're talking $200,000. We have to answer to the family. I thought it was mafia.
And you'll learn that the man largely responsible for this massive influx, flight school owner Rudy Deckers, is not who he pretends to be.
And what I heard was just that he had a backer in Naples that was backing him financially. That the money that he had, that he, in a sense, flaunted, was not even his money. He was just the front man for the man that had the money.
To learn the truth, you have to journey to an unlikely and until recently little-known center of intrigue, a freebooting port of call for an international cast of Learjet-setting rogues, spies, villains, and terrorists, set beside a community of golf-playing retirees looking to get in on the early bird special. Welcome to Venice, Florida, a tiny retirement community on Florida's Gulf Coast. Like most towns, Venice has a few things to boast about. It bills itself as the shark tooth capital of the world, for example. And it has the second oldest population per capita in the entire United States. But it's really just a pleasantly ordinary little place. Except that Arab terrorists by the dozens came here to learn to fly. Mohamed Atta piloted the plane that hit the first tower. He learned to fly here. Marwan al-Shehi flew into the second tower less than half an hour later. He learned to fly here too. So did Siad al-Jarrah at the controls of the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania. That's 3 out of 4. And so did the most wanted terrorist still alive from the Hamburg Cadre, Ramzi bin Shalbib. What drew them here? Why would healthy young men gravitate to a retirement community anywhere? Where what bathing beauties there are recall in an earlier, gentler time. It makes you wonder, because it ain't Hamburg. How exactly did Venice, Florida become the biggest September 11th crime scene that wasn't reduced to rubble? Were they sent here? Was it an assignment? Who was Mohamed Atta anyway? Islamic fundamentalist, terrorist ringleader, the Pied Piper of terrorist pilots? How about Arab spy or double agent? The Pelican Alley is owned and run by Renee Adorna and her husband Tom. When reporters showed up the day after September 11th, she immediately knew why they were there.
Right after the incident happened, we had newspapers come down, and somebody said, "Oh, there's a reporter out there," and right away I knew what it was about because I remembered the table Tommy knew, Jeff knew, we said right away, and then he didn't even really, he showed one picture and we knew immediately. There was 3 and they all looked of the, I guess, Egyptian, like kind of dark skin, dark hair, lots of jewelry, lots of jewelry. They're dressed like in Florida type shirts, you know, the silk with the pattern and that kind of thing. And I could have swore there was a cross. The one guy had the big cross. You know, the big gaudy gold cross thing, I thought. But I'm not sure now. But I know it was just he had the big watch on.
When you saw pictures afterwards, did you recognize all 3? One?
No, just one. I only recognized one of them. The Atta, I guess is his name.
Atta, the ringleader?
Yeah.
The guy with the 1,000-yard stare.
Right. He barely spoke a word to me, but when I'd come over, I'd be like, geez, what's his problem? Because he had that really mean look on his face all the time, like he was very unhappy. So you know,
I keep hearing
that. So I mean, he never really spoke. And then the other guy was a heavier set guy who did all the talking, you know, with me anyway. Was very outgoing, was very, you know, pleasant actually. So.
And who was Atta arguing with?
The big guy.
The heavy set guy.
And actually, the big guy was actually yelling at the other guy.
Atta and his young sidekick weren't arguing over the proper interpretation of the Quran.
They were loud, you know, making comments at the hand on the table, this kind of thing. We're talking $200,000. We have to answer to the family. I thought it was mafia. You know, like when I'd walk by, I just, you know, and I tried to stay away from the table, pretty much, and then went and told the owner and the manager, you'd better watch this table. They're getting a little out of hand.
And they came in into the office and said there was 3 gentlemen out here getting very loud and having arguments amongst each other, and she was afraid that it might get too out of control, so she came and got me, and I came out here. They were sitting right here. The way they were sitting was, the one guy was on one side, the other guy was here, and then the big guy, he wasn't even in the booth, he was sitting on a chair on the outside here. He was a pretty big guy. And he was doing most of the talking and just kept talking and saying stuff to them and kept hearing about money and things about money. And the other guy, that I guess was the main guy, he wasn't saying a word. He just sat there with a look on his face the whole time.
The FBI come to see you?
No. 2 newspapers, that was it.
But nobody,
no
cops, no Venice police?
No. And they were right down the street at the house. The house was right down the block that they had rented, so they never came over here to see us.
Did the FBI come talk to you afterwards?
Did what?
Did the FBI come talk to you afterwards?
No, actually only newspaper people.
Strange?
Yeah, I did, because we thought, you know, geez, they might want some information or something, but maybe they already had everything that
they needed.
Yeah.
The FBI never finished its investigation into the September 11th disaster. Their work was halted by President Bush in an effort, he said, to free more manpower for the anthrax investigation. Well, the anthrax is behind us now. 3,000 dead people command us to find the truth about how it is they came to die on September 11th in the year 2001. And it's the search for that truth that's brought us here, where on these runways, barely 18 months ago, Mohamed Atta joined the Venice flying circus. Glimpse into the private lives of cold-blooded killers left us wanting to know much more. The obvious question, of course, is what kind of fanatic Islamic fundamentalists wear silk shirts and heavy gold watches? More importantly, who or what is the family? The FBI had managed to pop in at Atta and Marwan's rented home in Venice, a block from the Pelican Alley. It's owned by this man, Steve Kona, a Venice fireman.
What they did was they come to the rental house itself. I guess the FBI showed up there about a day or 2 afterwards. I just maintained the grass over there in the summer, and they actually dealt with the rental agency for the, for the rent each month. Right. But yeah, I would see him occasionally when I was over there mowing.
Mohamed Atta apparently disdained contact with almost everyone.
Actually, he kept kind of secluded. His cousin, which I can't think of how.
Chubby guy.
Yeah, I talked to him a couple times when I was over there mowing. He was friendly.
Everyone says that.
Yeah, and he was. Mohamed Atta, no, I never spoke with him. 6 months he was there.
The terrorist landlord is clear about the time period during which they rented the home. The same July through December time period of the year before the attack.
They rented just for that 6 months, where the same amount of time that they were here for the pilot's training. And then they left. I didn't, of course, I didn't have any dealings with them, so I didn't know where they went after that. But that, my understanding, I thought they were going back to their country. I thought they were here just for the training and they were leaving.
We've just heard eyewitnesses that they were in this Venice restaurant just a month or so before September 11th. The timeline doesn't mesh, because when the FBI explains where the terrorists were in this country during the last 9 months of their conspiracy, the word Venice does not pass their lips. Was there something in Venice we weren't supposed to find? Brenda Cover works in the deli of this supermarket a mile from the airport. She says the terrorist pilots were in Venice just 1 week before the attack.
September 11th, I was on the phone with my mother-in-law the same time the buildings got hit. They showed pictures of 3 different guys. Atta was one of them on TV. And immediately I recognized the faces. And I told my husband then, oh my God, those are the 3 guys. They were just in the store a week ago. The week before that, they were in the store. They got subs.
Who were they meeting? Why were they here? The official story is that Mohamed Atta's terrorist cadre's appearance in Venice was nothing more than mere happenstance. Is that true? Again, we heard mention of Atta's dark presence.
I didn't like the way they stared at you. I mean, it would have been different if they would have talked to you like you were a normal person and just, hi, how are you today? But he just stood back and just glared at you with his dark eyes like you were the bad person. You know, like he wanted to do you harm or something. And it just really gave you a frightening, eerie feeling. Like I wouldn't want to be caught in the parking lot at night with him.
We asked Brenda when she first noticed the flood of Arab pilots coming through Venice.
About a year ago. About a year ago.
Was it just happenstance that so many young Arab men began arriving in Venice for pilot training all at about the same time? Because if it wasn't, then something else was going on in Venice, Florida. Something which the FBI may be doing its best to ignore. Venice is worlds away from Miami Vice. Atta and his Arab cadre seem to fit right in on Florida's East Coast, the center of Casablanca-type intrigue, with trendy eateries packed with tall European models. It's a raffish sort of place where even Osama bin Laden could find an aircraft broker who would sell him a U.S. jet trainer. This is the Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport, famous as a safe harbor for pirates of the air. This company, for example, used to work out of the infamous Mena, Arkansas airport, known as a haven for aviation intrigue during the 1980s. Just blocks from this airport, Mohamed Atta rented a car for what would be the last month of his life. Incredibly, he used it to return to Venice. As we've seen in the FBI's official chronology, the word Venice does not appear in the story of Mohamed Atta's final days. But in the rental cars that Mohamed Atta and Marwan rented right behind me here, they went to Venice twice.
He rented 2 cars over 3 different contracts, a total of about 5 weeks. He picked up that car at closing time, and that one was going to be for 2 weeks. He told me it was going to be for 2 weeks, and told me he had to go over the west coast of Florida, and wanted to know if that would be a problem.
In this nondescript building in Pompano Beach, Florida, we got confirmation that Atta had been in Venice during 2 of the last 3 weeks of his life.
While he was over in Venice during those 2 weeks, he called me from Venice. I saw it on the caller ID, and I thought, oh, wonderful, I got a car broke down over on the west coast of Florida. And he called me because the service engine soon light was on.
During his questioning by the FBI, Warwick learned new details of the attack.
Well, Marwan almost missed the building, so FBI told me that he was flying Marwan was flying 100 miles an hour faster than Atta, and that's why he flew into the building deeper, and that's why that building came down first, is because there was so much fuel deeper into the building. But their also explanation is Atta was very cool, calm, collected, just zeroed right in on it, just bingo, and Marwan, on the other hand, 10 years younger, was just scared to death. And flying, he flew erratic, and like I say, at the last minute, he almost even missed the building.
Numerous items in Warwick's account are at odds with the official story. Atta had supposedly never been to America before the previous summer, which is hardly enough time to learn to speak without an accent. How was their English?
Both of them very good.
Yeah.
Very. I really thought that they had been in the country for a long time.
Where and when did Mohamed Atta learn